The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike three. Wrap this one up in green and white.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to another edition of the RailCats Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Savedich, and today we're going to be talking about 2 games in a row the RailCats have won against the Cleburne Railroaders, bringing them a half game back. And if they can win tomorrow, they'll be a half game ahead and will be in a playoff spot. This is what we're hoping for. And, you know, I saw a little fight in this team. It was kind of like a reverse role against the Railroaders today. I don't think Harrison Francis had his best stuff today. He had a little bit of walks, a little bit of trouble. 2-out rally. The Cleburne gets a 7-run lead, and then it turns into an 8-3 lead, and then it's all RailCats from there, except Cleburne scoring there in the 8th. I'm not gonna do the normal breakdown, play-by-play or scoring inning by scoring inning. I had a very odd day in that realm of things. I had my bridal shower, wedding crap had to be done. There was family members that couldn't be there for a certain reason. Those family members came over right when the RailCats were playing. So I wasn't able to really keep score in my book. I tried to go back and try to do it. It was kind of jacked up. And then for some odd reason, as soon as like 11 o'clock, 11:30 hit, American Association, I got it. You don't get to watch the rest of it. So I didn't get to see the ending, which doesn't really make any sense to me. Why one? I don't know if they were just having issues, because it kind of seemed like that was kind of throughout the entire American Association. If it didn't last to a certain point, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. So it's not going to be the normal. I think it just is going to be more of a based on, at least to this game, kind of craziness that happened. The RailCats, I believe, ended with 14 stolen bases, maybe 15 stolen bases in this game for a American Association record, which is outrageous, because you think last week Cleburne broke that by 12, and then the RailCats do it to Cleburne at the depot. And I sit there, you realistically sit here and I think about it. I said, and now some of the steals were like double steals, and like I get that counts towards stolen bases, but I don't think the trailer, if the play isn't made on the trailer, I think it should count as a stolen base and credit of the player, but I don't really count that as a stolen. It's weird because the play might not be at second, the play might be at third, and I get the overall of it. I understand it. It's just kind of one of those, it's like a gray area in baseball. It's kind of like, does it really count as 2 stolen bases or just 1 stolen base credit towards the team in that inning? But nonetheless, I degrade from what I'm trying to get at is, I think it's ridiculous, to be honest with you, that a team is able to just run wherever they want to, whenever they want to. And the one player that should probably stop doing that is Nova. He got picked off at second. I don't know what it is about him in second base, but he gets picked off all the time. Like, he's not intelligent on the base path. All right, he's hyper aggressive, and that's fine. You can be hyper aggressive, but even in a close game, you can't. I don't. If you're down by a lot or you're up by a lot and you want to pad your stats, go right ahead, get picked off. At that point, I don't care. But if it's less than a three run game, you shouldn't be getting caught at second. That getting caught at second is almost as embarrassing getting caught at third base, right? That's something that shouldn't happen. There should be communication from the team, where the player's at, what's going on. That's just bad. I just think getting picked off at second is embarrassing. Not as bad as getting picked off at third. If you ever get picked off at third, then you're just in la la land. But like I said, I don't think Harrison Francis really had his best game today. He only pitched 2 innings, gave up 8 hits, 8 runs, all earned, 4 walks, 1 strikeout. I just think, he got the the strike the 2 outs right away there in the first, and it just kind of a missed call here, a walk there, a hit there, and it just kind of piles on. The mental note just not there, and it just kind of runs with it. But then Michael Woodworth, have yourself a game, boy. You lead it off with a 2-run shot in the first inning. He goes 3 for 5 with 4 hits, 5 RBIs, 1 walk, and strikeout. That's something that you just need. Sometimes you just need that one player, and Michael Woodward was that one player, and he just let it go. I mean, even when I'm just looking here realistically, the offensive production, or at least the hits, the 10 hits came from Woodworth, Mariaga, Nova, Castillo, and Scatlin. Like, out of no one else really did anything, but I can't discredit Walraven, who scored 2 runs, but he walked 4 times. That's what you want from a leadoff guy. If he's going to go 0 for 2, but then get on base 4 times and then score 2 runs, it's pretty nice. I mean, you had a handful, there was 12 walks. Nova had 3 walks, and Graves had 2 walks. And then Scatlin had 1. So that's, I mean, Woodworth and Lingua all had 1 as well. So that's something you want to see. I think it's a decent number to see. I mean, Cleveland only struck out 3 times. RailCats struck out 10, but that's kind of high for this team. I mean, that's not high. It's pretty average for this RailCat team. So let's just go ahead and break down the stats here real quick. Looking at the pitching, Harrison Francis started, like I said, he went 2 innings, had 8 hits, 8 runs, all earned, 4 walks, 1 strikeout. Nick Garcia came in, and I think this was the best outing he's had since the All-Star break. Coming in relief appearance here, he pitched 3 1/3 innings and struck out 2 people. Aaron Phillips is the winning pitcher of record. He pitched 2/3 innings, and no walks, no hits, none of that stuff. Then Villavista came in. He pitched 2 innings. He gave up 2 hits, 1 run, which was earned, 2 walks, and then Medea, I'm gonna call Medea. He came in and got the save. He pitched 1 inning, had 1 walk, and that's it. Looking on the Cleburne Railroaders side, they're pitching Alexander. Started the day, he pitched 3 innings and 2/3. So starters really wasn't a factor here, and the Cleburne starters really haven't impressed me. I mean, they had a couple games where they kind of shut down the RailCats offense, but I think that's just the RailCats themselves sometimes get themselves in that situation. They really haven't impressed me. And I guess that's such an aggravation, I think, of this series, is that when the RailCats starting pitching does very well and their bats are there, the bullpen comes in and just doesn't do anything. And then sometimes when the starting pitching is not so good and the offense isn't so good, the relief pitching is dominant, and it doesn't help you in that case. And on the flip side of the Cleburne, their starting pitching has been horrendous, and then their bats come alive late, and then their bullpen shuts it down. So it's I guess that's the very frustrating aspect to this series, is the flip flops that happen, which I don't think should happen. I realistically think the RailCats should easily roll over the Cleburne Railroaders via just their starting pitching alone and the production that they have been getting. I mean, when you score a boatload of runs against a team, that should be great. But I don't know what the deal has been. They should have taken a lot more than being a half game back at this point right now from the Cleveland. I think that's just a frustrating aspect of this series has been, how many times have the RailCats just let it slip through their fingers, even being at home. When I realistically sit here and think about it, out of all the games they played against Cleveland so far, I think 3 games would have been are pure losses, if that makes sense. where they were just outmatched and outplayed. The giving up a 10-run lead, that's just you mentally falling apart, or you going into the ninth with a 5-run lead and falling apart. That kind of stuff, that's on the mental side of the game, where you just kind of fall apart on that aspect of it. And so yes, I think the Railroaders are a streaky team. They get really hot at certain points, and they just keep going along with it. They pile up a boatload of runs in a handful of innings, kind of cool down, heat back up, kind of cool down. So I mean, not discrediting that the Cleveland Railroaders aren't they're a lot like the RailCats. So I think that's why it makes it a good matchup, and that's why you're having this close series back and forth, which makes it a little bit more aggravating. Which I sometimes feel just watching the when I'm watching the RailCats versus when I'm watching Cleveland. Like I don't see the similarity. I mean, and the way Cleveland started the year was absolutely horrendous. So I don't know if that's just sitting in my back of my mind when they were just absolutely horrendous. They get in this beautiful win streak, and it's just kind of, all right, just keep the momentum and go. But right now, where the RailCats sit, their half game, I guess I just stopped talking about Cleveland's pitching staff here. But Alexander, he pitched 3 innings and 2/3, or 3 and 2/3 innings. He gave up 6 hits, 7 runs, 5 earned. I know there's a couple errors, like I said, I didn't really get to see the errors and all that stuff. 5 walks, 7 strikeouts. Lucas came in, he pitched 2/3 inning, gave up 2 hits, 1 run, which was earned, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. McCarthy came in and pitched 1 2/3 innings. He gave up 2 walks and a strikeout. Bell is the losing pitcher of record. He pitched 1 inning, gave up 2 hits on 2 runs, 1 walk. Garwin came in. He pitched 1 inning. That's really all he did on that portion of it. Sims came in there at the last. He pitched 1 inning, gave up 2 walks and 1 strikeout. Looking at the RailCats batting, Walraven, he went 0 for 2 with 2 runs, 4 walks, 1 strikeout. Woodworth went 4 for 5 actually, 4 for 5 with a home run, which was a 2-run shot. He scored 3 runs, 5 RBIs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. He got to be the hands-down player of the game. I think he should have been the player of the game yesterday too, on that aspect of it. But they gave it to Daniel Langlois, who I guess he's a new father again. I don't know what the case is on that one. I got 2 different sources of telling me what's going on, so it's kind of confusing on that aspect of it. And I really haven't heard anything outside of that. But he went 0 for 5. He had 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Jesus Mariaga actually kind of being productive finally. He had 2 hits on 5 at bats. He scored 3 runs, 1 RBI, 2 strikeouts. Victor Nova had 1 hit. He went 1 for 2. He had 3 walks and 1 RBI. LG Castillo went 1 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 strikeouts. Graves went 0 for 3 with 1 run, 2 walks. Jackson Smith, who went 0 for 3, and I think he got hit twice and back-to-back at-bats and struck out once. And Scatlin, who I think had a pretty good night, went 2 for 4, scored 1 run, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Looking at the Cleveland Railroaders, Arroyo, Arroyo. I always say names differently all the time I see him. It is what it is. He went 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs. Taylor went 0 for 3 with 2 walks. Nair went 2 for 5 with 2 runs and 1 walk, or 1 RBI. Simpson went 1 for 3 with 1 run, 1 RBI, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Clemens went 0 for 3 with 1 run and 2 walks. Alexander went, and this is not the pitching Alexander, this is Hill Alexander. The pitcher is Garrett Alexander, which I don't know if they're related. Hold on, I just looked at the birth. No, maybe, potentially. They're both born at a different place, but they're like 3 years apart. I may have to do some research on that one. Probably not. But anyways, Hill Alexander went 1 for 4 with 1 run, 2 RBIs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Sanchez went 1 for 5 with 1 run, 1 RBI, and 1 strikeout. Bockley went 2 for 4 with 2 runs, 1 RBI. Sumpert went 1 for 4 with 1 run scored on the day. So the RailCats scored 10 runs on 10 hits, no errors, and the Cleburne Railroaders scored 9 runs on 10 hits and 3 errors. And the errors probably helped the RailCats just a tad bit on making this win possible. But I think that you had a rocky start from Harrison Francis, and like I said, you're going to have those from your starting pitchers. He's an all-star pitcher. He's been very good. He's been improving every week. Yeah, you're going to have some setbacks, but I think just it's one of those you kind of get back in the mindset and you just kind of keep going on that aspect of it. So like I said, we look at the standings here, and the RailCats are a half game behind the Cleburne Railroaders. They win tomorrow. They jump up a half game. And then that sets up the next handful of series, which against Lincoln Salt Dogs, which is going to be, I think it should be a winnable series. Then you got Sioux Falls, which is a winnable series. And then you kind of get into the very, very tough part ending of the RailCats season, which is going to dictate what happens to the RailCats here, because after the Sioux Falls series, you got Chicago, Milwaukee. You do play Cleburne again, so that may be the nice little mixture you may need to kind of see, where they come out of those next 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 13 games. In those 13 games, you kind of see where you're at and where Cleburne's at. So that could be a big benefit push there if the RailCats can kind of get hot here in a little bit. But then you go back and you are playing Fargo-Moorhead again. Then you have Chicago again. Then you have King County. Then you have Milwaukee. So it's not going to be a walk in the park to make these playoffs. And when I just go ahead and let's look at Cleburne, just because that's the next people that that's who we're going to be battling with on this aspect of it. So when I scroll down here, okay, they play Milwaukee, they play Lake Country, they play King County. Their schedule isn't the easiest either. So it's going to be interesting to see it's just going to be very interesting to see what they're going to end up doing. They'll go on the road for a very long extended period of time. It starts off at Gary on the August 16th, and it goes all the way down to Lincoln. That doesn't end until August 28th. So you're looking at a 12 a day span, 10 games of being on the road. And then before you finish it out with a doubleheader at the end of the year against Lake Country at home. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I think it both plays out evenly to where I can't say, if they were, facing the very bottom. If they didn't have Chicago on the schedule anymore, they don't really have Milwaukee. So you take out Milwaukee and you kind of put Lake Country in there a handful of times. I think it makes a little bit of difference, but I think those are the deciding factors. Is the RailCats play Milwaukee instead of Lake Country. So there's your kind of in and out on that portion. They don't play Fargo-Moorhead either. So I think I think the scales are tipping in Cleburne's favor just a tad bit, but not by much. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen on that aspect of it. So it'll be interesting. It should be a fun time, but let's just go ahead and look at the standings again throughout the East. Chicago's still on top. Milwaukee's still on top, or the second. They're 8 games back. Kane County's 9.5 game back. Cleburne 16. RailCats are 16.5, and Lake Country is 19. So then when we go ahead and we look at the West here, Kansas City is actually taking the step above Fargo-Moorhead. Kansas City is on top. Fargo-Moorhead is 2 games back. Winnipeg is 6 games. Lincoln is 13.5, and Sioux City Explorers are 15.5, and Sioux Falls is 20 games back from that, portion of the schedule or portion of the league there. So it's going to be interesting to see, especially when they're going to play Lincoln, because Lincoln is in a playoff spot, but they're still battling with the Explorers to make sure that they don't, get jumped. So I think the RailCats, this is a good time to, they get the win tomorrow and they can keep the motivation going. They, win 6 games here, put yourself on a good pedestal, get yourself a cushion and work through there on that aspect of it. So yeah, so just a game plan for the next little bit here. Tonight, or technically it's past midnight at this point. So later today I do have to work. I will miss the game, and then I will miss Monday's game. But Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm either Tuesday or Wednesday. We're going out to eat with her parents. I don't know which day it is. So I will potentially miss one of those other games, but I'll still have a podcast of just a little bit of, just kind of going through the games and so on and so forth, where they're at, just looking at the schedule, that kind of stuff, talking about some certain stats, stuff like that as well. But before I go, let's just kind of look at the leaders here for the RailCats, because things have changed a little bit. Nova now has the highest batting average at 324. Mariaga had a very rough series against Cleburne, going like 0 for 18, 20. That dropped him down to a 293. Woodworth was at a 287. Castillo's at 281. Lingual's at 280. Wall Raven, his numbers have bumped back up. He's at 267. Scatland's at a 266. Jackson Smith at 220. Graves is at a 200. Greeley's at a 200. Burgess is at 193. Abbott's at a 185, and that's where that kind of rounds off at as well. Let's just go ahead. So this is another. I'm still kind of confused. I'll probably. I know that I put there on Facebook that Sam Abbott broke the single season record for the RailCats in home runs hit. But I've gotten 2 different sources, and I guess I'm going to go with the RailCats version of it versus Cleburne's, because their announcer said that he broke it, but the RailCats said he tied it. So I may have put a little bit more misinformation out there, but didn't mean to. It's one of those that you're under the impression and you don't find out until later. But I mean, even Wall Raven, he's had himself a heck of a time down at the depot, and he's at 9. He could potentially, the way he's been hitting, he is more streaky than Abbott, so he may pass Abbott. He could potentially pass Abbott. He just got to hit more home runs at the steel yard. Not steel yard. The steel yard, yeah. It's steel yard. I'm just that tired. As well. So, I mean, but then you look at the rest of the team, and it's just no one else really hits home runs on the team. I thought Mariaga was going to kind of take off on that aspect of it. And then we'll just look at the RBIs, because I think that's very important. RBIs. Mariaga is the top in that field. He's at 34. But Wall Raven's slowly creeping his way back up. He's at 31. Lingual's at 33. So that rounds up your top 3 on that aspect of the batting style and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm tired. I'm gonna wrap it up. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening. Whenever you're watching this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna do it for me. So yeah, enjoy yourselves, and go Cats.